Thank you everyone for coming. This is a really nice turnout, and it's actually the first lecture that we're holding in this space. This is a new building for this year, so we're really excited to use it in a different way. We're using it for classrooms and dinners, and this is yet another kind of layer to the many activities that we do at TSOA. So it's my pleasure to introduce tonight's speakers, artist Yiming Wang, in conversation with Fei Wang and Nan Wang from Syracuse University. I've had the opportunity to get to know Fei through both of our Syracuse and Arizona mutual connections. And he introduced me to the work and practice of Yiming Wang, who has an incredible career as an artist and educator. He's currently teaching with this group at Syracuse as a visiting critic, and many of the students are here tonight. And since 1993, has been an important figure in the South China University of Technology School of Architecture, where he serves as director of the Fine Arts Teaching and Research Office, the Visual Art Laboratory, and the Environmental Art Research Institute, occupying a unique intersection as an artist within an architecture school. He founded Wang Yiming Studio over 30 years ago and has also been a visiting scholar at the Central Academy of Fine Arts since 2000. Our conversation started about a year ago, where we discussed the possibility of an institutional collaboration through both course engagements and a landmark installation as special programming between TSOA and Syracuse. After some exploration and planning, Yiming Wang's large-scale work, composed of 83 large-scale scrolls, will take place at the Waddell Studio and Sculpture Garden up north. It's another hidden gem of a site, which has an importance in Arizona's creative history, and actually connects many of the sites that we visited during this most recent visit with Syracuse, which includes Arco Santi and Taliesin West and Cattle Track, and of course Taliesin West is hosting them for their overnight stays during this trip. So I'm excited to help produce this as part of a larger vision, which connects many of these histories and communities. And Yiming Wang's work is both epic and meditative, vibrant and deeply reverential to nature, dynamic and present, and yet delicate and participatory. So this is all echoing the values of the places that the works have engaged with over his career and upcoming as well. As I mentioned, this is part of a larger vision for us as well, to engage collaborations and innovative formats of learning across these sites and communities. And yesterday, in the spirit, we had a fantastic afternoon session with TSOA and Syracuse architecture students at T West on their design studio work, led by Yiming Wang and Fei and Ian, all based at different sites across Arizona and reflecting concepts of material intelligence, spatial poetics, and social ecology. So this was a really nice several-hour long session, launching and discussing the projects in a kind of storm and flood warning environment. Wang Yiming's work is rooted in a profound connection to ritual, landscape, spiritual practice, and participation. Notable works include Flags and the Mountain Kora series developed in Tibet. He's been exhibited internationally, from the Everson Museum in Syracuse to venues in Paris, Vancouver, Montpellier, and Beijing. He's presented major solo exhibitions, including Long Ta in Paris, the Mountain Kora at Today Art Museum in Beijing. His practice is documented through several published monographs, including The Rainy Season of Shangri-La, Mountain Kora, and Flags, which we have on the table over there for viewing, so please feel free to look at the books after this lecture. Among many accolades, he's honored with Wang Yiming Day in Syracuse, New York, which I loved learning about that. Tonight with Wang Fei and Ian, I'm excited to explore how his art practice can offer new perspectives for designers to engage with landscape and cultural memory, and how we can expand our thinking around artistic production and participation in the built environment through an interdisciplinary lens. Key to this will be a conversation to follow between Yiming, the artist, Fei, the architect, and Ian, the designer, to discuss the confluence of aesthetic, cultural, environmental, and social issues that gain depth through integration and exchange. Yiming Wang is a multidisciplinary designer and strategist. He works in graphic design, branding, fashion, industrial design, and photography in both Syracuse and Shanghai. He's a founding partner and branding designer of the award-winning Riverside Design and Riverside Hotel Shanghai, an interdisciplinary studio that captures spatial storytelling across architecture, interiors, and experiential design. Fei Wang is an assistant professor, Master of Science Program Coordinator, and Director of China Programs at Syracuse University School of Architecture. He's the founder of architectural practice FW Studio, and also co-founded the innovative Riverside Hotel in Shanghai with Ian. Among being exhibited at the Venice Biennale and beyond, he has also been a curator, including for a current show, Decoding Eisenman, Beyond Form, which just opened and is Peter Eisenman's first solo exhibition in China. Congratulations on that. Thank you again to the three of you for coming. I want to thank the students as well, and Alex for the setup, our sponsors, Chris Lash vacuumed, Swabak Architects for being our primary sponsor for the lecture series, and the Arizona Architecture Foundation for their continued support in making our lectures happen. So let's give them a round of applause. Welcome.
Good evening. Many thanks for the warm introduction. Thank you, Dean Stephanie Lin and the TSOA for inviting me to be here again. It is my honor to return to TSOA to share my artistic journey with you. I began studying art at 15. After university, I worked as a designer for 4 years. Then I was back to school to continue graduate studies. Later, I joined the School of Architecture at South China University of Technology, where I had been teaching art for 33 years. Teaching art to architecture students deeply influenced my own work, my research, and the artistic language become closely tied to architecture. Perhaps that connection is why I'm here today. We got the theme of today's lecture covered the spiritual field. Literally leads me to Tibet, a place far from my hometown. My early interest and imagination of Tibet merely because of my father. My father was a soldier. He followed the troops into Tibet in the 1950s. Later, he often shared stories about his experiences and from childhood. Tibet feels like a mysterious, almost mythical place to me. In July 1987, the second year after graduation from university, I took a solo journey to Tibet with all my siblings from 1 year's work. Starting from Gulan province, I passed through Chengdu in the southwest. I arrived in Lhasa and other places. The journey took nearly 2 months. During the trip, I shot 20 rolls of film and did 40 watercolor paintings. This trip to Tibet, which was rare and uncommon at the time, allowed me to brag about it to my friends for many years. 24 years later, in 2011, I returned to Tibet. Since then, I basically went to Tibet every summer, sketching with my friend on the plateau. Almost, it's 4 seasons in a day. Enjoying the friendly atmosphere with no barriers between people and nature. My artistic evolution unfolded in 3 pivotal stages, each tied to Tibet. Every time when I drove to Tibet, I would pass through Shangri-La, where I often stayed for several days to sketch. It rained almost every day during the stay in Shangri-La. And these rains profoundly shaped the style of my works of the period. Thus, I named this yearly series of figurative landscape sketches the rainy season of Shangri-La, and published and exhibited them under this title. Later on, as I traveled to Tibet more often to paint, I often saw fragments circling scared mountains with difficult, repetitive movements. They made their way toward holy sites. Their devotion moved me deeply. I wondered what kind of strength drove them to endure such hardship. Being on the plateau, I simply stared out the larger canvases across the wilderness, painting under the bright sun and the thin air at high altitude. I feel like entering a state of pure focus and wonder. Gradually, I shed my reliance on figurative forms and turned to abstraction. Pigments mixed with sound become imprints on the canvas, and the sunset and my physical and emotional energy were spent. Each time, when I gazed at the scared pigs, while painting with my brush, I realized I was undertaking a kind of horror, circling the sacred mountains too. But through art, I came to understand. Art is not merely personal creation, it is a tribute to nature and life. A journey through which the individual reaches the spiritual realm. In 2016, on my way back from Tibet, a crazy idea struck me exactly. I told my travel companions, I want to paint a large piece at the foot of Mountain Everest and offer it to the Himalayas. Stuff you say late at night, usually just a drunk talk. It's all bullshit you'll forget by morning. Yet, this wild idea imprinted itself into my mind. Prayer flags are everywhere in Tibet, fluttering in the wind, symbolizing chanted scriptures and praying for peace and tranquility. They become my flags, inspire me to create a series of specific works on site under this title. Flags, a artistic action rooted in peace and ritual. From 2017 to 2019, I create flags in diverse locations: the Tibetan Plateau, my Guangzhou studio, and even Vancouver, Canada. It's expanded my creation for flags in various places. The project gradually attract artists, art lovers, and volunteers from around the world to participate. Their genuine participation made me more determined and clear about my original idea and fueled my excitement for flag's potential. With support from various sectors, I had selected several paintings from flags works and hold a series of exhibitions in various cities in China and Mongolia, formally introducing my crazy idea to the public. To my surprise, this crazy idea quickly gained institutional and public support and participation. What began as a personal endeavor grew into collective public art movement, engaging diverse communities. Along the way, I made many friends who shared my interesting, unexpected, and invaluable gifts. After 2 years, the 83 flags works, led by me, but made with many others, were finally completed in 2019. The grand wild dream had become real, not just for me, but for everyone who supported it. What is the best way to present these works born from the sacred mountains and the lakes? The confined wild box of urban galleries could never contain their power. These flags need to return to their source, to the vast plains between heaven and earth on the Tibetan plateau, where they could truly dance and fly in the wind. In the 10th summer of 2020, as the pandemic reached globally, I led a team of 20 friends back to Tibet with all the 83 flags with 50 yagers provided by local herders. We together created and carried out 4 site-specific art actions amidst the holy mountains and lakes, as the falling ribbon, past glory, and the rainbow. Battling high altitude, sickness, scorching sun, hurricane winds, and torrential winds, we forget something beyond words, a beauty that could only emerge through sheer struggle in the landscape. 30 journeys of creation to Tibet. 30 genes of creation to Tibet. All these works come from spontaneity and onset, without detailed plans. But when I look back, their common spirit is clear. Action, sight, chance, co-creation, process, and prayer. Looking back at these field-born creations, I defined my practice as a field art. Field art is a creative practice rooted in universal time and place. Emergence of collective improvisation to reconnect humanity with nature. It is also spiritual pilgrimage, a prayer for peace and serenity made manifest. In 2022, I was invited to create site-specific artwork at 3 significant European locations. The first one was at a castle in Normandy, France. I used 83 of my flags to create flags greeting from afar, shaping them into a pair of doves embracing the ancient castle. This special project for European Heritage Days was celebrated across temporal, cross-cultural dialogue with the night lord of the castle, a hero who dedicated his life to Indian words.
那没办法，这个张先也，
是，他其实
他是因为这拆开嘛，因为战争，
战争，
嗯，
战争。
这个石头比西藏的小，
对，完全没有问题，
不破是吧？西藏不破。
还行，没问题。头这个头。
好像天作之合，是的，而且包括你们。
Then on September 21, 2022, World Peace Day, I choose Omaha Beach in Normandy, the historical D-Day landing site. I create flags, the center beach. By the sea, I create a massive intersecting matrix of symbols of earth and grass. With the field art in the original vision to inspire our reflection on the world and the prayer for world peace.
真的对。
从这边，好。这边有几条？好，向我这来。来，这个加车100多岁的。综合日历啊，一切很完美。
study at the site of the Berlin Wall in Germany. I create a colorful butterfly they could fly over the breeze, carried by the wind of art. It flew across the borders and rebuilt connections between people.
是吗？飞机加不要加。这么一个美丽的公园，隔壁没多远就是曾经的柏林峡因为说曾经布满了铁丝网。你现在所有的痕迹你都看不见。我想做这蝴蝶，因为它都是很漂亮的东西，漂亮的景，美丽的蝴蝶。我希望有更多的人们可以真的放下偏见，仇恨也好，什么也好，无非就是人与人之间的关爱。
Right after I returned to Paris and held my solo exhibition, Flags Greeting from Afar. Following my European projects, I was invited by Syracuse University. I traveled from Europe to the United States. The Yiming Museum of Art in Syracuse has collected 2 of my ceramical works that I created based on eye. I was deeply moved when Onondaga County Executive Yiming Wang officially declared October 13, 2022 as a Wang Yiming Day. This led me sincerely feel that great respect that the American people have for art. After that, my team and I visited Syracuse University's School of Architecture and took part in its 150th anniversary celebrations and academic exchanges. This trip to the US helped me form deeply friendship with American art lovers and become an important inspiration for today's talk. Once again, art brought us together across cultures and geography. Now, my teaching commitments in China has concluded. This year, I'm honored to join CQ's architecture as a visiting critic, where I'm working with students and faculty to create art and further develop my field art philosophy. I believe I will return to Arizona in nearly future with CQ's professor and local friends to co-create a new work. I believe that in the magical place we will create more than just the artistic work. We will manifest our shared philosophy and aspirations. I hope a legendary art piece will be born in the beautiful city of Phoenix. Through our collective efforts, thought I have named this work Phoenix Wings. In closing, I would like to say my field art was born in the towering Himalayas, the roof of the world. Just like the prayer, colorful flags carried by the winds. Its real friend is placed in every spiritual home it belongs to. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I want to invite you and Ian and Faye to sit up here, and we can conduct a discussion and then open it up to questions. Thank you, that was wonderful. Did you have a question to start, or how would you like to?
Yeah, let me talk about my experience and feeling for collaboration with Professor Yiming, and yeah, just to clear, and we all share the same family name. It's a very common family name. Probably there are more than 100 million people sharing the same family name. We are not blood related. So yeah, so it just happened. Just like we're teaching together, and Big Michael Speaks has been very supportive, and he's someone is really kind of into this transdisciplinary kind of pedagogy in architecture school. So yeah, something happened. Just like I knew Professor Yiming for a while, and then we started to collaborate a lot. And in the past years, I invited him to come to Syracuse to show some of the films about the Tibetan art, and it's really kind of a rough kind of cut, and for the very first time 3 years ago, I think it's almost in the completion right now. Hopefully you can see in the theater sometime, and in the beginning we start to, I was wondering, it's really something very interesting. Is like a artist teaching in architecture school for 35 years, and to teach architects about art, because it's required in China for the first 2 years undergrad study. And then through the conversation with him, I said, did teaching in architecture school help you to shape your art vision and through the decades. And he said, yes, of course, because beginning and all his art pieces really kind of a small scale and very still and about more kind of realistic kind of art. And then later on it's getting bigger. And also, of course, teaching with architects, also working with architects in architects, also landscape architects, also help him to open his vision is more and more, and to help him to understand more about space, landscape, and etc., city, etc. And then his artistic kind of vision is getting kind of broader. And then when we discussed about this, I mean, of course, this semester we're doing something about land art, but for him, this is not land art, it's field art, and it's really hard to define and by what existing here already. So it's still trying to explore more and more, and so for him, it's really something really special. It's really about all the experience working with different fields coming together. And also for his piece, all the pieces, it's really hard to do more kind of full scale in China more and more. And then because his vision is really about love, peace, spiritual, and belief, etc., that a lot of things is really hard to have full scale to be discussed or full display in China. That's why it's getting more and more, I mean, in Tibet, and more and more in Europe and in the US. So we try to, he's trying to find more and more kind of open land and free land to show his manifesto and statement, and to have more and more dialogue and a way to help him to grow. And so here in Syracuse, also here with DSOA and at Key West, and I think you're very generous and we can have more and more dialogue, because really what happened in the future we don't know. We're trying to create something, co-create something together. And also with our students, also we're trying to define what's the boundary, just try to break boundary, then we can learn from each other. And so that's how our trio is working. We are still learning through the whole process, and we are very kind of honored to have this kind of opportunity to have a dialogue with you, and we can learn more.
So I'm still wondering what's my role in this course, because probably it just occurs to us like maybe I'm a chewing gum, to fix all the gaps between the different fields. And, because I'm a designer, and also I was trained as a fashion designer, but right now I'm the full-time graphic designer, and also I'm teaching graphic design and branding design in Syracuse architecture. So it's still fun my role, and it's super fun actually till now.
Yeah, for a lot of the future collaborations for all three of us is I'm a curator right now, and I'm doing more and more curatorial work in the past 5 years. I'm the curator for Professor Yiming, and then every single show I'm curating, and Ian is always my graphic designer, branding designer, all combined together, because we really need a great graphic design to push forward, to have more communication, visual communication to the public. So everyone, we are taking different roles, but we work together as a whole team and trying to do something just like unprecedented, so something can move forward, rather than just like artists is going forward by themselves, architects, we are doing our kind of isolated job. So really want to have more and more dialogue and to the more public.
Yeah, it strikes me like the different scales of these dialogues and different durations, like among your three disciplines, like that's very unique, and then how you share it with your students, and then how your students have shared it with our students, and how this has happened across different cities. I think that's been so rich, and like that ongoing process. I mean, this is, in my mind, like this is part of that co-creation, like this event is part of it. And I'd love to know more about like, in your work, like how do these dialogues start with, and how do these projects start? Like what happens before? Yeah.
About my artwork.
Yeah, like what is the nature of the dialogues and conversations that happen that precede the artwork that allow it to happen?
在这些作品发生之前，你是怎么开始？是从自己的想法，还是和别人聊天来看寻找帮助你？
应该是很多次的去西藏，不断的在改变。因为我在谈到这个，因为有10几次的去西藏，后面最开始的时候，可能是因为西藏的风景景观吸引我，可能后来是因为其他的东西，包括西藏的人信仰庙。后来我也讲到了，里面讲了3个阶段，后来发生了改变，包括我的作品的形态以及我的想法。
Okay, so it's very difficult to explain in English for him, so let me translate. I'll try. So for him, it's really just like through a lot of stages. And he went to Tibet more than a dozen times, maybe 13, 15 times. In the beginning, he was attracted by the landscape, and more by people, more by the people's belief, and many other things happen through the road. And every road trip going there is because it's a long road. And sometimes in the beginning, he went there alone, and then just to see the landscape, marvelous landscape. But later on, with the whole team, and the team is getting stronger, bigger. And I forgot to mention in his team and in his studio, not just artists, they have sculptors and painters, also filmmakers, and many other people in different disciplines already, and it's getting bigger. So next time when he's here with his team of 10, with all different disciplines, and of course through the whole process, always kind of a debating, discussing, and about different ideas, to share different ideas on the same platform. Then all his teams, they went with him to Tibet many times, more than 10 times, a lot of the team members. So through the whole process, everyone will have different ideas, because the filmmakers will have different ideas about the filming, and the sculptors will have different ideas about that. And for him, as I said, it's like our kind of creation process. There are 3 stages. The beginning is more kind of realistic, and then getting more abstract, then getting to the field. So the 3 stages for him it took several decades to get where he is right now. So it's really about experience.
Yeah, that's great. And then among the 3 of you, like how have you seen your different areas of expertise intersect in meaningful ways?
Yeah, in a way, so it's at the beginning it's like a job we try to do, but then it's like we really break the boundaries, and we are trying to learn from each other, and then we're trying to create a course, then we can learn from the students, and then and in the beginning, as I said, it's like I'm a curator. I'm trying to help him to realize his ideas, and trying to find all the connections to help him to realize the ideas. And then it's okay, we need a branding, we need a graphic, all coming together. And later on, okay, then how to create this kind of piece, we need a location, we need connections, we need specific kind of things. We need people to know the local conditions. Of course, I went to Tibet 13 times. We don't want to wait until 2 decades later to realize something here. So that's why we have a lot of connections here, and trying to understand and trying to know each other. And so that's how we are getting more and more kind of stick together. In the beginning, just like a very individual kind of roles, and more we are getting together as one single kind of thing. Then getting more and more people to be stick together as getting stronger. So this is really hard to define our roles. And then even right now, I'm not a 100% architect. And even last year, I published a book. It's A+U special issue. It's called Architecture and Beyond, an unconventional practice by Chinese architects. So it's really I'm particularly interested in architects who break the boundary. And then for all three of us and our kind of practical roles, and as original kind of roles as to define us is getting blurry, then we can reach out to intermingle with each other more and more. So that's also this in 21st century. Is a lot of kind of architects. We are trained as architects. We don't do architectural practice, unconventional architectural practice anymore. That's also in Michael Speaks also very helpful to help us to engage into dialogue. It's like we open a hotel, unconventional. Also, we also had a lot of dialogues with Michael as well to talk about his artwork. That's why it's dedicated really to invite him back to Syracuse to do something. Also, we never had this type of studio before. So that's also, we try to redefine kind of architects, what we can do, or yeah, so.
Yeah, that's great. Like, in a way, like, it's almost like this studio needs to be much longer and
Yes,
happen
for example.
again. And, I mean, yeah, it's like,
Yeah, also
that's exciting.
Like collaborate with, I just want to tell you just one small thing for our students, and right now they are all doing the individual kind of proposals, and also in the end, alongside with their individual kind of proposals, land art project in Arizona, and then and Professor Yiming also brought a really long piece, just like very long piece, silk. So all the students, they will contribute to that piece individually combined together as one piece. So also we try to test how the collaborate can be kind of all the different forces can come as one single one. And that's also we're going to test in the following months. And also to see how the boundary can be broken and merged as one. And that's also something we're going to do the experiments as well. So we're going to learn from the process as well. Yeah.
That's great. Are there questions from the audience or any comments from our students who participated in the workshop yesterday, or from the Syracuse students who've been going through this for a few weeks?
Okay, there's one.
Yeah.
Hi, I guess I wanted to ask all three of you. I mean, like a lot of work is very impactful, but I know there's how do you get over that? I guess that barrier of taking those trips on your own. I mean, what are also the biggest challenges, I guess, in creativity when is there ever a block, or is there always just an idea, and do you have a hard time just choosing an idea?
去那边都有什么样的困难？去西藏那些路上，然后是怎么一步步克服这个困难？都有哪些？给我们列一下。然后
就是里边是
到底这想法，从想法到实施有什么样的一个这个？
对，因为去西藏，
用话筒没事，也有中国同学可以听得懂。
中国对对对，
你说一说。
I speak Chinese.
Yeah.
Sorry about my English. Yes. Just no. 在西藏，其实它在高原，大家都知道，高原。首先第一个它是缺氧，还有一个它的天气变化无常，这是一个自然的摆在你面前的困难，你需要去挑战。而且对于我来说，就因为刚开始的时候我去到西藏，去在那里画写真，就因为这个地方具备了这么多的挑战，它反而吸引了我。就有的时候我在想，我画面中间的改变，就是在画的过程中间，是不是真的因为我的脑子缺氧？是真的，就是它生理反应让你具有着某种挑战性。完了，就是完了，你就在开始。你来西藏真正的目的是为了画这里漂亮的风景吗？也许你时间久了后你会改变，你会更多的关注这里的人文以及他们的信仰。对，就有很多东西是你意想不到的，因为这是世界的屋脊。
后面还有吗？现在还有一些。Okay, there are two very natural obstacles, very difficult. First it's super high plateau. It's more than like 20,000 feet high and short of oxygen. And the second is the weather is quite unpredictable. So in one day you can experience 4 seasons. And then, so he said just in the beginning, he was attracted by the landscape, beautiful landscape, amazing. And then later on when he painted, he's just like, and more crazy ideas. He said, maybe it's because of short of oxygen. His brain is not working, or it's working in a different way. It's creating something even more different from before. And then when he went there many times, it's getting more and more attracted, not just by the landscape, it's more and more by people, by the belief, by the culture, by etc. So it's really that those are very natural. When you went there many times, things will change, because this is really the highest point of the earth. Is really kind of changed everything. They have very special kind of culture there, only can happen there. Okay, that's for now. Yeah, this is the beginning of the obstacles they had to conquer. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's
your work seems centered in love and peace. How has your relationship to love changed throughout your life?
他说您的作品都是跟爱和和平相关的，然后这么多年的这个过程当中，是否让您对爱和爱的认识有所改变？
也许真的就是因为你去到西藏，你看到那些藏民他们对信仰的虔诚，那么你也身处在这个时代，那么你们也看到我们这个时代会发生很多事情。那么我的作品很多时候就像会选择一个关键的时间点，就包括2020年我们的疫情，包括2022年俄乌的战争，包括武汉的战争，所以我会用我的作品，用某种特定的历史环境或者是某个特定的地点，跟我的作品联系起来。那么我想，我的作品永远不会改变，就是关于爱、关于信仰、关于人与人之间的相互关爱。对，我们遇到很多问题，但是也许我们作为艺术家可能解决不了问题，但是我们会提出一些问题。我们也会去用作品表达我们的看法。
Yeah, for him, love and peace is always in his heart through all the years. Of course, changed a lot. And when he went to Tibet many times, it was really touched by the belief people have there. And it's something really you cannot see here in daily time. Just for example, it's really just like people just bow, move one step for years until they reach the holy mountain. That's their lifetime. They have to do once for Tibetan. And for his work, and he always trying to find some particular moment to express himself. It's like during the beginning of the pandemic, and also 2022, the war between the Ukraine and the Russia. And he always trying to find the particular point or to respond to what's going on in the world. And he said, as an artist, we cannot change anything, but we have to show our point of view, show our manifesto, show our vision to the public. At least that's what we can do. Yeah.
What is your process for like site selection, and like what are the things you look for mostly? And then in terms of the flags, like what is the process of placement, orientation, and like the order of the different designs when you're looking at it at such a macro scale, but you're kind of on the ground, and it's kind of hard to tell from there, I guess.
就说您怎么选择地方，选择基地，就是你要做作品的地方，然后第二呢就是每一件作品的它的这个角度怎么来确定，然后第三个问题是，很多作品只能从航拍才能看得到，就是我们人在这边的尺度到底有什么样的意义。
是
对，
一个是地点，一个是
对，地点就像我们在西藏几个选择的地方一样。那么第一个你看到的像那个眼睛，那么这个眼睛的地点就刚好在一个神山的旁边，但是在藏传佛教，在很多印度教，包括尼泊尔他们的一些信仰里面，这个地方是他们认为是宇宙的中心。这冈波齐叫做这个山。那么你也看到另外2件作品，就在一个皇朝。那么这个作品我们其实表达的是关于对自然的敬畏，就是这个讲的是一个飘落的彩带和一个曾经的辉煌。这个皇朝曾经存续了有700多年，但是在300多年前它突然消失了。那么因为什么？我们在课堂上面跟我们同学们也讨论这个问题，关于水啊，关于环境啊等等。那么所有的这些地点的选择，当然就一定有我关注的问题，我们现实的问题，关于环保，关于人的相处等等。这说到尺寸，实际上就像大体艺术，但通常它跟装置会有一些区别。也就为什么说我的作品跟建筑学有关呢？就是这个原因，就是从尺度。那么我把它的尺度在某一个地方，如果通过这种尺度，可能会更多的表达的清晰一点。我想或者说从视觉上面，还有一个最重要的原因，我觉得是，我一定要通过一个非常艰难的，比如说我做一个小小的眼睛或者图形，我一定要通过一个艰难的事情，我来完成它。我要通过2年，我要花这么多，而且花很大，我一定要消耗我自己，我要把它做成一个事情，很艰难。要不然很简单，这个事情只表达了意思。那么我一定要通过我的精神、我的体力、我所有的一切，就像刚才讲到转山的那些人一样，竭尽所能，只要我能做到。
每一个东西的这个朝向定位是怎么来？
实际上是一刚开始没有特性的，一定是哪个朝向。当然我们会有一个象征性的符号或者是 logo， 一定代表着某种特定的意义。它不一定要摆在某个方向。
Okay, so 3 questions roughly. So for the site selection, always trying to find the site with the meaning and story. So it's like the one with the eye. That's the from Tibetan culture and also Hindu culture. That's the center of the universe. It's a holy mountain. It's a special name. I mean, different culture they call that differently. So he's trying to create the eye related to that, and also another kind of a rainbow and river side. And it's a lost river and a lost dynasty. The dynasty was there for 700 years, that disappeared in one day. It's like 300 years ago. There's no trace. There's no history to record that. So that's really something to celebrate or salute to the lost dynasty and to talk about. And also he's trying to find always something and relate to his kind of his instinct, and also with a lot of story behind. And for the piece relate to your third question now, it's really about he's doing a very difficult job to train himself, experience himself, rather than just doing a small piece, just only to make a small manifesto, that's it. But really through the whole process, it's like people in Tibet. It's like a bowing, moving, the whole repeating kind of process. He wants himself to be really, really exhausted. The process making is not just like one single piece of work. It's really about the whole experience for him, for the whole team, and then for all the rest, to let people to like observer to see what he's doing. But for him, it's really he has to go through this. That's the art piece, rather than just like he pointed someone to do it, but he has to do it by himself. And then for the orientation, and all his sketches is really kind of it's marked of every single piece of the scroll, and they have to place it somewhere. But then on the side, it's like architects in the old times, we have to deal with the site supervision kind of on site to deal with the issues specifically. So it's always there's a sort of control and also improvisation and on site. So at the same time.
I think along those lines, I know you've told me a little bit about the site selection or the site visits that you've been doing.
Yeah.
How has the work that you imagined around the Phoenix, how has that changed through the different visits? And say as much as you're comfortable
Yes.
with. Yeah.
他说随便聊聊，就是来了凤凰城这几次，然后您对场地的选择有什么样的这个认识、选择改变？
首先第一个，
Yeah.
首先
What
第一
have
个
you discovered?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
是，亚利桑那凤凰城是一个，我觉得是一个非常吸引人的地方，因为从这样说来，从3年前，我第一次去大学的时候，跟费教授、跟 Michael 院长，他就第一个建议就是说，他说王一鸣，你可以去亚利桑那，我建议你在那里做。其实之前我基本上没有来过亚利桑那，而且知道的很少。有趣的是什么呢？就是我在想我在亚利桑那做什么，就是说，我就说我要在美国做一件什么样的作品，就一直在考虑这个问题。我在想，也许我在美国做的作品跟迁徙、跟移民、跟这些可能有关系，一个多种族的国家，一个自由的制度等等，我想了很多。突然有一天我就想到，也许我用一个象征的东西，或者是代表东西方有的东西，或者是我就想到了凤凰。其实那个时候我根本不知道有凤凰城这个城市。完了，我那天跟这个非常可以证明，我们两个在讨论的时候，我说我想做一个凤凰城，他说凤凰城，他那里不是有一个叫菲尼克斯吗？菲尼克斯是什么？他说菲尼克斯就是凤凰城啊，就是几年前我们讨论这个时候就很巧合。
Okay, about 3 years ago, when I visited Syracuse to give the presentation, also donation to Everson Museum of Art, and my dean Michael said to him, "Your work shall be done in Arizona about the landscape, its similarity with Tibet." And then he started to think about this, and okay, so he wanted to do something in the U.S. and about migration and immigration, about different races, and we work together, and about belief, religion, etc., etc. Then he started to think about what kind of a symbolism about the East and the West we share, Phoenix, and something, and he started to paint something about Phoenix. And like phoenix wings, etc., etc. Then maybe 2.5 years later, 2.5 years ago, right after he left U.S., went back China, he started to paint a lot of things, and then that winter I visited his studio, and he said, "Oh, I asked him, are you doing anything in Phoenix?" He said, "What? Phoenix is a city?" I said, "Yes." Okay, let's go to Arizona. Let's go to Phoenix. And then that's starting from 2.5 years ago. So we start to, okay, let's plan something and little by little. And so that's really kind of a serendipity in a way, because it's really, I mean, even in the semester with discussing with students, is like even the idea of Phoenix in China or in the East and the West is very different, and of course the dragon also very, very different. So also something just like could be something interesting can have this kind of bridge or dialogue of the two. So rather than just like we're talking about the thing only about the West or about the East, so something start to emerge, and then we start to visit all kind of different sites and trying to get more kind of inspired. Every time they got new inspiration, and because things has to happen on site, through images, whatever, through videos, or even through Google Map, Google Earth doesn't work that much, can help a little bit. and so it start to probably he has to visit more and more to every time will be kind of something new. Yeah, like going to Tibet 13 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, there's one. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, in the back.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so what are some lessons or discoveries that you have learned from teaching art for so many years in an architectural school?
您在建筑学院教艺术，您学到了什么？
其实这种学习是我觉得是潜移默化的，就是有的时候我在建筑学院教艺术、教美术，就跟我的学生，但同时我也在跟我的同事共事，建筑学也教会了我很多东西。虽然我可能没有刻意去跟建筑学好像是某个专业相结合，但是一定是建筑的设计、景观的设计、规划的设计，经常跟同事们在一起。我觉得他对我的作品潜移默化的影响了很多，也就变成了我现在作品的形态。
Yeah, it's like teaching in architecture school. So in South China, Technology University is one of the top 8 universities in China. I mean, architecture schools. And they have architecture, urban planning, and landscape architecture. And through the whole process, rather than just like teaching with students to learn anything, something, little by little, and then but working and daily dialogues and casual life and casual talk with all the colleagues from architecture, urban planning, and landscape really changes vision. So from beginning, it's really kind of small scale painting, and then it's getting bigger, then to the whole kind of the plateau. And so that really changed his vision little by little, not just in one day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How is your own perception of your artwork differed when it's in a museum compared to in nature, both in the way it's assembled and also if the intention is different or reaching people differently?
您的作品在美术馆里面也展出过，然后在大地上也展出，这种有什么区别？对你而言？
我觉得在美术馆的展览更像一个总结，就是当你完成了某些作品，或者在某些地方完成某些作品，回到美术馆只是一种总结。它跟我在户外，它是一个创造的过程，而且它有很多你想象不到的事情会发生，包括它的天气，就像我谈到的光线等等，所有的一切。他在做的时候，美术馆你可以完全设定它是一个什么形状，它是一个固定的空间里，但在自然里面，所有的一切都会很偶然，而且你会想象得到你意想不到的效果，就像我们做这个曾经的辉煌那样，一道彩虹升起的时候，自然会感动你。
Yeah, he said in the gallery, it's like a white box model. It's more like a summary of its work, summary of a period work to showcase, and then that can be fully controlled and fully predictable, and everything can be controlled. And but working in the land, in the open land, is so unpredictable. But also it's a process. That's the kind of art making process. And also he said just like on the field, it's really kind of every single second might change, and a lot of things can happen unexpectedly. But on the other hand, it's really sometimes good, sometimes bad. But one of the rainbow project is really in the end there is a rainbow in the sky. And he said, if you do something good, nature will give you something back at the same time. So that's really, he loved both, but it's really depending, the different locations. Oh, there's one in the back.
You were working in Tibet in China. The symbology is very culturally specific. Do you think that when you're moving, like let's say here or in Europe, Do you think that you draw from different inspiration, or do you continue to draw on your own kind of background and experience?
他们在西藏做的东西的时候，就是非常就是当地的一些东西。然后呢，如果要是您在欧洲啊，在美国，您要再做新的作品，会对当地的一些东西影响，还是您原来的一些想法，然后在这边的实施。
我是觉得每一个艺术家他有自己的风格以及他的表达方式，就像现在你看到的我的这些大的艺术作品一样，我运用了这些元素，就是我把它命名为 flags， 也就是西藏的那些帆。其实我去到不同的地方，我会用不同的文化符号以及跟当地的一些结合，是吧？跟当地的包括它的历史也好，或者其他的东西也好，我就跟它有一个结合。大体会通过某一种符号或者一种语言来表达，应该是这样的。
Yeah, all his work and actually in the past, let's say the past decade, is getting more and more abstract. I mean, in terms of content, so it can be adapted to different kind of scenarios. So in the beginning, it's really specifically on site, but also a lot of pieces they were produced not just in Tibet. Some of them Tibet, sometimes it was in Guangzhou his studio, and some of them they were produced in Vancouver, Canada. And then when they were kind of redisplayed or reconfigured in different kind of conditions, of course he has to learn the local culture, the local kind of a symbolism, then to help him to understand or have more engaging dialogue. So every time it's really kind of the dialogue always between the two. And also, let's say in the beginning it's really about Tibet, but before it's in Tibet, it's not just about Tibet itself. And then he also used the idea and from Tibet also to do a lot of art pieces in other sites as well. So I think there's always translation because there are 83 pieces, and I think it's getting more and more abstract in the end, and probably in the future, yeah, there'll be something more when they experience more to think more about the something, to be inspired to get something new. Yeah, it's trying to keep mind really open.
Questions? Well, I'm sure the conversation will continue over dinner. Thank you so much for the lecture and for sharing your work and the studio's work and for initiating this collaboration. It's really exciting for us as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.